Hello my dear students, welcome back to another exciting biology class on our channel. Today we are going to explore one of the most fascinating life processes, that is respiration in plants. Have you ever thought about how plants which make their own food through photosynthesis actually use the food for energy? Do plants really breathe like us? Where does the oxygen go? And what happens to the carbon dioxide? By the end of this class, you will clearly understand how plants break up glucose to release energy, why respiration is essential for their survival, and how it happens both in the presence and absence of oxygen. So let's step into the hidden world of plant respiration and uncover the secret behind how plants stay alive, active and growing every single day. This is the syllabus outline: respiration in plants, outline of the process and gaseous exchange, mention glycolysis and Krebs cycle with significance, reference to aerobic and anaerobic respiration with chemical equations, experiments on gaseous exchange and heat production. Introduction: like animals, plants also require energy to carry out body activities. Plants undergo two types of respiration: aerobic and anaerobic. The chapter covers diffusion of respiratory gases and experiments to demonstrate respiration. What is respiration? Definition: all living cells, mainly plants or animals, need energy for their bodily activities. Examples of energy requiring processes: protein synthesis occur from amino acids, starch formation from glucose, mineral absorption from soil, and laying down cell walls. This is the glucose. In presence of oxygen, it will produce carbon dioxide, water and heat energy. This is the equation for plant respiration reaction. Energy source: energy comes from the breakdown of glucose, which is a carbohydrate. Important characteristics of respiration: breakdown of glucose occurs in steps, not at once. Two main phases are glycolysis. Glycolysis means breakdown of glucose into pyruvate, which occur in the cytoplasm, and Krebs cycle, from the conversion of pyruvate into carbon dioxide and H2 and ATP, which occurs in mitochondria. Each step is controlled by a set of particular enzymes, and energy from glucose breakdown appears as heat as a small part, chemical energy in ATP as adenosine triphosphate. ATP is the energy currency of the cell. It is the immediate source of energy. It is described as the energy currency of the cell. Respiration is basically a catabolic process releasing energy from glucose for life processes. Metabolic activities: living organisms show two types of metabolism: anabolic processes, which is constructive, biosynthetic and energy consuming, and catabolic processes, which is destructive, breaking down and energy releasing. Here the diagram representation to show the use of energy liberated in respiration. This is the table of differences between respiration versus burning. Respiration occurs in a series of chemical steps. Burning or combustion occurs in a single step. Respiration is enzyme catalyzed reaction. Burning or combustion is carried out by heat. Respiration is a biochemical process. Burning or combustion is a physico-chemical process. Respiration, it is energy released as ATP and some heat. In case of burning or combustion, energy released as heat and light. In case of respiration, no light energy is produced, but during burning or combustion, light energy is produced. In case of respiration, I know it's a cellular process, but burning or combustion is a non-cellular process. Respiration occurs at body temperature, but burning or combustion occurs at high temperature, which is called as ignition. The entire plant respires. All parts of a plant, either whether leaves or stems or roots or deep cells, respire. Oxygen enters from the atmosphere through three inlets like stomata, which are found in leaves, lenticels are found in stems, and general surface of roots. Roots, plowing aerate soils, allow air spaces, help oxygen diffusion. Waterlogged or compact soil reduces air spaces, it hinders respiration. During daytime, photosynthesis produces oxygen. Oxygen is partly used in respiration. Rest diffuses out. Carbon dioxide produced in respiration is reused in photosynthesis. Night time, so no photosynthesis occurs. It leaves or absorb oxygen from air and give out carbon dioxide. belief about not sleeping under a tree at night. At night, plants release carbon dioxide not due to photosynthesis, so carbon dioxide levels are higher in night, but during the day, sleeping under a tree is beneficial due to oxygen release from the plant or tree and cooling effect of transpiration. Two kinds of transpiration: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration, it uses free oxygen for complete oxidation of glucose. It produces carbon dioxide and water and energy as a form of ATP. So the general equation is C6H12O6 or glucose plus 6O2, it will form 6CO2 plus 6H2 and 38 ATP. It is also called as oxybiotic respiration as it occurs in presence of oxygen. Anaerobic respiration, it occurs in absence of oxygen. Certain plant parts, including temporarily oxygen deficient tissues, respire anaerobically. In absence of oxygen, glucose is completely broken down into ethanol or ethyl alcohol, carbon dioxide, and small amount of energy. So C6H12O6, it will form 2 C2H5OH plus 2 CO2 plus 2 ATP. Glucose will form ethanol, carbon dioxide and ATP. Equation of anaerobic respiration, it is called as anaerobic or anaxibiotic respiration. It cannot sustain plants for long. Eventually it leads to death. But some microorganisms like bacteria, fungi like yeast normally respires anaerobically throughout their lives. Even germinating seeds deprived of oxygen undergo anaerobic respiration. Major differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration: aerobic respiration, it proceeds in presence of oxygen, and anaerobic respiration, it proceeds in absence of oxygen. Aerobic respiration, it will include complete breakdown of glucose, but anaerobic respiration, it includes incomplete breakdown of glucose. The end products of aerobic respiration are carbon dioxide and water, but the end products of anaerobic respiration are ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide. Energy yield from aerobic respiration large or 38 ATP per glucose molecule, or anaerobic respiration energy will be small, that is 2 ATP per glucose molecule. Aerobic respiration occurs normally throughout life, and anaerobic respiration occurs temporarily for short period. So basically aerobic respiration occurs when oxygen is present. That includes Krebs cycle and electron transport chain, but anaerobic respiration occurs without oxygen. Fermentation such as lactic acid fermentation and alcohol and carbon dioxide production is the inclusion of anaerobic respiration. Experiment to prove that oxygen is used in respiration. Two flasks A and B. Flask A contains germinating bean seeds and flask B contains dead or boiled beans with antiseptic to prevent decay. Both have wet cotton for moisture. A test tube with soda lime which can absorb carbon dioxide is suspended inside each flask. Delivery tubes are connected to water to detect changes. Observation: in flask A, water level rises in delivery tube, that is, oxygen is used up by germinating seeds. In flask B, there is no such change, so because seeds were dead, so oxygen is consumed during respiration in germinating seeds, and flask B act as control. Here the image showing experiment to prove what oxygen is used up in respiration. Experiment to show that carbon dioxide is produced in germinating seeds. There are also two flasks. Flask A contains germinating beans which are live, and flask B contains boiled or dead beans with antiseptic or carbolic acid to prevent bacterial decay. Both flasks sealed and kept under identical conditions. Observation: after a few days, seeds in flask A germinate and flask B shows no germination. Air from each flask is passed into lime water. Flask A's air turns lime water milky due to carbon dioxide production, and flask B's air has no effect. So the conclusion was germinating or respiring seeds release carbon dioxide. Here the diagram or image is the experiment to show carbon dioxide is produced in germinating seeds. And here is an alternative method. Germinating seeds are placed in flask. Outside air drawn in with a suction pump. The image is showing air passes through KOH solution, that is potassium hydroxide solution, which can absorb like soda lime carbon dioxide present in outside air. Flask with germinating seeds, which is where seeds release carbon dioxide. Air then passes through lime water. Lime water turns milky. Conclusion: the carbon dioxide observed comes only from respiring seeds, not from atmospheric air. So the image showing carbon dioxide is given up from living plant material during respiration. Now the experiment to prove carbon dioxide is produced by green plants in respiration. Here is also a setup, a small potted plant, example geranium placed under a bell jar, air pumped in with the suction pump, air first passes through soda lime which absorbs carbon dioxide present in incoming air, air then passes through flask A lime water, and finally air exits through flask B which has also lime water. Observation: lime water in flask A before the plant remains clear and lime water in flask B after the plant turns milky. Conclusion: the carbon dioxide is released by the green plant itself during its respiration within the bell jar. Note: this experiment is usually conducted in darkness so that photosynthesis does not interfere the process. So the image is showing here is the green plants respire and give off carbon dioxide even in the dark. Experiment to show that heat is evolved during respiration. There is also a setup to thermos flasks. Flask A containing germinating seeds, live germinating seeds, and flask B contains boiled seeds or dead or sterilized with antiseptic like formalin. Both flasks plugged with cotton wool, a thermometer inserted into each flask. Observation: after a few hours, temperature in flask A rises due to heat released by respiration, but there is no change in flask B. So the conclusion is respiration is accompanied by liberation of heat. Experiment to demonstrate anaerobic respiration. Here the setup: soaked and peeled germinating peas placed in a test tube filled with mercury. Tube inverted in a beaker of mercury which is similar to a simple gas collection setup. Seeds are surrounded by mercury, cutting off carbon dioxide oxygen supply. Observation: after 2 to 3 days, gas bubbles are liberated. This gas can be tested with KVH stick which absorb carbon dioxide. Mercury level rises further, but the control experiment with boiled seeds shows no gas. Here the conclusion is germinating seeds can respire anaerobically, releasing carbon dioxide without oxygen. Note: removing the seed coat before experiment may hasten carbon dioxide diffusion. Here the experiment is showing that to demonstrate anaerobic respiration. Respiration contrasted with photosynthesis. Respiration and photosynthesis are opposite processes. Photosynthesis requires light, produces food or glucose and releases oxygen, but respiration uses glucose, releases carbon dioxide, which occurs all the time in all living cells. So they are complementary, that the product of one serves as the raw material for the other. Photosynthesis versus respiration at a contrasted process. Photosynthesis, it occurs only in presence of chlorophyll. Respiration, it occurs in all living cells including plants and animals, or in microbes. Photosynthesis occurs only in presence of light, but respiration occurs at all times. Photosynthesis uses carbon dioxide and water. Respiration uses oxygen and glucose. So photosynthesis releases oxygen, respiration releases carbon dioxide. In presence of high energy, chemical energy will be produced which is stored in the form of glucose in case of photosynthesis, but in case of respiration, chemical energy partly stored as ATP and partly used immediately. Photosynthesis results in gain in weight, or it is a and respiration, it results in loss in weight. It produces food. Photosynthesis is constructive or anabolic. It produces food, but respiration is breaks down food. It is destructive and catabolic process. Respiration in plants versus respiration in animals. Both plants and animals respire, but there are differences. No gaseous transport in plants. Gases simply diffuses from cell to cell. In animals, blood transports gases. End product of anaerobic respiration, plants will produce ethanol and carbon dioxide after anaerobic respiration, but animals produce lactic acid after anaerobic respiration. Heat production much less in plants compared to animals. Why not sleep under a tree at night? Common myth: tree releases too much carbon dioxide at night, so suffocation occurs. But what is the reality? Carbon dioxide released at night is too little to cause harm. Our rooms have even more. The real danger: dropping of birds, insects, spiders, snakes, etc. It's safe from carbon dioxide, but unsafe due to animal insects, not due to ghosts. So thank you for joining me in this class into the hidden life of plants, my dear students. Today we learned that plants don't just make food through photosynthesis, they also use that food for energy through respiration. Just like us, they take in oxygen, they break down glucose and release carbon dioxide, all to fuel growth, repair and daily activities. We also discovered that respiration can happen in two ways: aerobic with oxygen and anaerobic without oxygen. Remember, respiration is the power source that keeps plants alive and functioning day and night. Keep exploring biology and you will realize that every breath of life, whether in animals or plants, connects us all in the beautiful cycle of nature. Thank you.